Welcome and good morning. We have, let's see, we're on episode number 23 of our Business Unusual Prospecting Through Uncertainty podcast with pictures, which is what we're calling our webinar series. Now, I'm Brendan Filbert, managing partner with SalesWorks, and my job all day, every day is to help people get in front of their next opportunity, whether that's a phenomenal prospect or perhaps it's a career consulting or interim gig or their next job. And that's what the perspective is that I'm bringing to you with our webinar series. It's all about how do we make an effective pivot based on everything that's happening in our market right now, because I think we're all kind of dealing with so now what? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do next? So with that, I've got Chris. You want to do a real quick intro? He's my co-host today.
Hello. And I'd like to add to Brendan's talents that she also confuses cats, teaches them that they're dogs. I just thought I would throw that in there. My name is Chris Motley, the owner of Motley Creations, where we make you look good. Motley Creations does managed marketing services. So small, medium-sized businesses with big goals, we help them find right-sized solutions to execute on their marketing strategy. And we help develop the brand and the image they need. And then we also have a fabulous guest. We need like a drum roll. With us today, we have Brenda Perkins. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
I'd love to. So my name is Brenda Perkins, and I am an independent affiliate with Send Out Cards, and I am in the kindness and gratitude business. I spent the first bulk of my career, I spent the bulk of my career, let's just go that route, in the employee communications business. And so I've had the opportunity to not just focus on employee communication now, but I work with sales professionals and business leaders on their kindness and gratitude and strengthening relationships with their clients and prospects. And I'm thrilled to be here today. I've been in Brendan's work for 8 or 9 years and have found great value always. So I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Amen. We love evangelists. We love them. Hey, everybody, real quick, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping here. First of all, we're recording this. You're going to get the PowerPoint. You're going to get a link to the video after this. And you may want to send us your mailing address for a secret later. We'll cover that later. So please, if you have questions, use the questions pane and send them to me, and I'll field them. Brendan's going to start, and then we're going to turn it over to Brendan, and then we're going to get to a section where we have a discussion. So then then you don't need the questions pane, just chime in. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my better half.
No. He's the get her done guy. Let me tell you, all these cool ideas that you come up with, he's the one that actually turns them into reality. So I want to say a huge thank you. And I'm going to kick things off with talking about building an effective follow-up system by letting you know that this is it's an integral part of your marketing systems and process. So there's a reason why my partner in our webinar series is a marketing professional. It's because sales and marketing should be married as job functions. Really, they should be. And it should be a very functional marriage, not the you don't talk for months. And it's because you've got to have that effective communication and follow up and use every tool that you can right now in order to stand out from the competition. Because let me tell you, what got us, to this point, if you looked at calendar year to year and we said that where were we at this time last year, we were in a dramatically different place when it came to prospecting. And what would work to put you in front of an opportunity and turn that opportunity into a closed deal is a lot different now than it was then. And the experience that I'm sharing with you, just to kind of help set the stage, is based on what we are seeing that is working today. It's not based on what was working 6 months ago, because what was working 6 months ago isn't relevant. And so today I want you to come into this session, and I just really want you to totally start with a blank slate and think about what do you need to design for your own follow-up system to be highly effective, to build and secure that relationship with that new prospect and engage them and manage that to turn it into an opportunity, whatever that opportunity may look like, as quickly as possible. So that's where we're kicking things off with today. And to get things started, I always like to make sure you're in the right room. And I'm going to go ahead and shut my camera off for just a minute until we start in on our discussion part. So for right now, what I want to talk to you about is the people that we are designing our content for, are business owners or leaders that are concerned about what sales are doing in their business right now. Maybe they've stagnated, maybe they've plateaued, maybe they've had a lot of proposals or quotes or bids that have been stacking up and not going anywhere. We also serve solopreneurs. That's the independent business owner, the gig worker, the freelancer, somebody that is responsible for hustling their next paycheck. And we recognize that you probably needed the phone to be ringing last week or yesterday. And, that's kind of the perspective that you're coming at this from. And then also we are targeting specifically those business development professionals that are trying to figure out where did their cheese go. And it's a case of not only did it get moved slightly, but it got totally upended. And, in short, I think we're all in this same boat. We're all trying to figure out where do we need to be and what do we need to be doing and how do we need to be changing. So before I dive into this, I want to take just a quick second. Do me a favor and use the questions pane, but just chat in with me whether or not you currently have a follow-up system in place that you're comfortable with. So just do a quick chat of either, yes, I got it, no, I don't. And if you got it, that's cool. Maybe you're here to learn how you can make it better. Okay. All right. So I've got some folks who are in a couple of different places. So I've got some that don't have one that's working. I've got others that they have one and maybe they'd like to make it a little bit better. And we're here to help with both of it. So let's dig in and talk about how we're going to go about doing that. So first thing is, and I've talked about this stat so many times, you're probably sick and tired of hearing it. And this is one of our stats that is actually a little bit dated because it's based on information from last year that talks about how that buyer journey, it takes about 8 to 22 interactions with a prospect between when they become aware of you and when they become a client. Now, I don't know about you. If I think about, well, Brenda's a great example. We've worked together for a long time. And I would imagine going back to when our relationship first started, it may have taken us, 2 or 3 months to get to that 8 to 15 conversations. I mean, if you just think back, that takes a lot of time. And I don't know, what do you talk about? Because the last thing I want you to do is waste anyone's time. So I don't want you calling up saying, hey, just checking in. And we all know nobody wants their bases touched. So let's make sure that everything that we're thinking about today, I want to shift your paradigm into checking boxes of, okay, followed up with this prospect, followed up with that prospect. I want you to be thinking about this as building a process that adds value so that you are that call that prospect looks forward to and they pick up, and they're also eager to learn just where and how you can help them. And recognize that you're probably going to find that this 8 to 22 touches or attempts, you're going to find that number could be upwards of probably 25 now, just based on what's happening. Because, and I'm going to share with you, and this is based on an actual call that happened this morning. Kathy was in on it. And what we're finding is that there's a lot of, now all of a sudden people are starting to move. And you see prospects, we've been in this mode where we're just stuck. We have had so much fear and we've just been totally paralyzed almost. And now what's happening is there's pent up demand because people are starting to recognize that what we're dealing with right now is our reality. And we have got to figure out how to function and how to move forward, or how to keep our feet moving, as my newsletter talked about this week. Now, with that being said, all of that pent up demand is still colored by fear. And we have to think about how we're going to help our prospects navigate through that fear of making a mistake or making the bad decision or dealing with consequences from not moving forward. We got to help them with that. So I want you thinking about that as we move into our conversation this morning. Most of the time when you intersect with a prospect, they are more than 2/3 of the way through the buyer journey. And when we talk about that buyer journey, that is from the awareness of, I got a problem and I got to do something about it, all the way through, I'm a happy customer and a raving fan, and I've been with you for a while. And with that, most people start off the buyer journey now with asking someone that they respect, how did you deal with that? And so they're asking for a referral, and they're trying to get ideas about what decisions they can make that are more low risk. So recognizing that, we want to make sure that our follow-up process does as much to meet that prospect where they are. Because Chris, what is it that you say? Who are people thinking about?
One person, and it's not you.
Exactly. So with that, we want to meet them where they are. And we also want to recognize the questions that they have in their mind about whether or not you are the right person to help them. So I'm going to do just a really quick review. We do have a full in-depth one of our podcasts with pictures, a webinar training that we did on content that converts. So you're going to want to go check out the YouTube issue of this, because we dig into this in a lot more depth than we're going to go into today. There's some good stuff there. Today, we're going to show you, though, how to put those mental triggers to work in your current follow-up system. So first thing is, the question that they want to know is, do you actually have the ability to do what you say you will do? And the authority mental trigger is about, are you capable? And that's strictly technical. And so think about your follow-up system and how well does it address that capability? And then the next one is, are you someone that I will like working with? And do I want to be a part of your community? And we all have this circle of influence or community surrounding us. And we've seen it happen, and you're seeing it happen right now politically. And I am going to go there because this is something that's really important. And it's such a big example of how communities are either going to attract and engage someone or send them running as far and fast from you as they possibly can. And recognize that there are a lot of people that they're going to go check you out, and then they're going to turn around and go do a Google search and look you up on LinkedIn, or go to Facebook or Instagram. And let me tell you, if you go off the rails on whatever issue is out there right now, mask wearing, not mask wearing, whatever, there's a lot of people that are either going to gravitate to you based on how kind you are, or if they find intolerance, they're going to run from you. So these interactions, we don't always control. So that 8 to 22 touches, some of those we're building today, and some of those are going to happen by way of the prospects taking initiative to go search you out. And they're going to see, are you someone that I would like hanging out with? And we've got to make sure that we are authentic about who we are, and at the same time recognize that kindness is truly what a lot of the world is needing today. And we want to make sure that first and foremost, everything that we are doing is kind, and it is understanding, and it's recognizing that people are frightened, and we want to be that voice. So our conversation today about building mental triggers, I want you to be thinking about all of the aspects that your prospects can engage with you, which means everywhere they would potentially find you. So now all of a sudden, I just kind of made things a little more complicated, I know. And then we dive into the other question is, do I see social proof that you've actually accomplished for someone else what you say you can do for me? So it's as simple as, in some cases, it may be Google reviews. It may be, if you're a restaurant, you're on Yelp. It could be a recommendations or testimonials on your website. In some cases, that's social proof, and we're doing this now. We're not quite as far down the path as I want to be. We will get there. It may take us another month or so before we're really starting to move. But Facebook communities or online groups or virtual communities or forums allow people to engage with you and become a part of that community, as well as recognize social proof. Brenda gave a prime example of this when she gave her introduction of how long she's been a great client of mine and how happy she is. That's an example of social proof at work. And one of the reasons why it's powerful to pull in your happy clients into your follow-up process. Now, the commitment trigger, and I'm going to go quickly through this because I want to make sure we get through all of the information. The commitment trigger is the step of taking, you're moving forward. So a commitment is where we call it a mini transaction, M-I-N-I. And it's where your prospect follows your direction. So you send them to a link and they go there. Or you ask them to put in their email address for a download. So much like Chris gave the example today of, you will receive access to the link of this recorded session today, you will also have access to the slide deck. But if you want the slide deck, you need to send me an email, and then I will respond to that email and share the information with you. That is a commitment step. Now, that doesn't mean that you're signing on the dotted line, press hard, third copy's yours. It just means that this is a topic that really resonates with you, and you want to dive in and understand it a little more. And that helps Chris and I recognize the areas that we can provide more value and serve you, so that you determine whether or not our approach is one that resonates with you and you'd want to explore it and potentially become a client at some point. So that's an example of how the commitment trigger works. Reciprocity, we all have this need of helping others. And that need for helping others, when someone helps you, you kind of want to help them back. And that reciprocity trigger is when you have helped your prospect solve a couple of problems on their buyer journey. Then what happens at that point is they're like, oh, wow, look, I made money, or I feel better, or I solved this problem, or I see that I have the potential to solve this problem. How can I get more of that? That's reciprocity. And then finally, the other, and this is one of the most powerful triggers, and it's the scarcity trigger. And now this one works in a couple of different ways. So the scarcity trigger can work as you have a limited time to act. It's a limited time offer. And unfortunately, human beings, we all procrastinate. We are very guilty of it. And it is a very dangerous place to be. So what you have to think about is, how do you help people overcome that procrastination? And in some cases, it is creating a limited time offer. So Chris and I put something together that's an example of this. We have a workshop that serves entrepreneurs and small business professionals and helps them create a product based on their knowledge or their process. And we are developing a special offer of when this class will launch. This class, you're only going to be able to access it at a certain point in order to get in on it. Otherwise, you're going to miss out for probably another 3 or 4 months. So the scarcity trigger then is not so much it's a limited time, there's a deadline for you to get in, but our scarcity trigger needs to be tied to the consequences of not acting. And I think a lot of us have the potential to create in our follow-up system an exercise that helps your prospects understand the cost of delay. And that's something else that we want to ensure is a part of our follow-up. So now let's talk about how we're going to dive in and do that. And we do have someone who is with us today that is going to be a phenomenal resource for many of you in addressing some of these social triggers and giving you an avenue to do that. So first thing we want to dig into is I'm going to give you 3 different avenues for your follow-up. And then we're going to talk to Brenda about what some of these tools may be to help us with executing these steps. So the first follow-up strategy that I always like to use, and this I'm clicking hard on a couple of those mental triggers. I want to connect my prospects to opportunity. Now, I do that in a couple of different ways. I do that through introducing them to either my other clients who could be good referral relationships or collaborators for them, or in some cases, I may introduce them to actual work. So if they're a transitioning executive or business leader and they have a particular expertise in helping clients do X, Y, or Z, and my client needs X, Y, or Z, I'm going to make that connection to explore that opportunity. Now, let's talk for just a second about mental triggers that addresses. So if you think about it, connecting to opportunity, we've got the reciprocity trigger that you're going to click. You also are going to click that liking and community because you are naturally going to gravitate to somebody that you like. The other thing is we also are going to have access to that social proof because in a lot of cases, I'm connecting them to someone who is already down the road that they're considering. And then I'm not having to sell my service or product. My clients are doing that for me. Then the other avenue that I like to follow up on, another follow-up strategy, is I want to give them resources that are going to help them solve problems. So I am looking for what are their biggest challenges during that initial conversation. And my job before I walk out of that meeting is I want to be the solution for that most compelling challenge that's dealing with that they're dealing with. Now, as I'm doing my fact finding, I'm probably going to understand that while sales may be a symptom of their real problem, it's probably not the real problem. We may dig a little deeper and discover that they have a difficulty understanding exactly where their business is profitable and making the right decisions. I'm going to introduce them to an accounting professional or to an outsourced CFO that's going to help them measure and recognize what they need to be doing. And I do that actually, so I talked about the mental triggers. The other thing that then happens is whoever I refer in there is normally a referral partner of mine, and then they're going to be the ones following through on that buyer journey. And then a lot of those 8 to 22 touches are being delivered by somebody other than me. So that's another powerful way that you can look at creating your follow-up strategy. The next one is I want to be solving their problems. And I'm going to do this a lot with my content. So for example, if I'm talking to somebody that has never had business development in their job description, and now all of a sudden they do, then what I am going to do is rather than spend time one-to-one with them talking about these are the 4 things you need to do, I'm going to send them a LinkedIn publisher post that I wrote about a year or two ago that says, these are the 4 things you need to do if you have to prospect now. And then what happens after that is, if they like the topic, there is a commitment step or a trigger that they do of going to another link or jumping in on one of our webinars or one of these sessions that we're doing right now. So then again, it's multiple mental triggers, but it is a very thoughtful approach. It's not just saying, go to my website and check things out, because I don't want to do that, because I know that they're not going to go there. But if I send them a specific link and I tell them why that information will be helpful to them based on where they're at right now, then I know that when they go there, they're one step further down the buyer journey with me. So that is follow-up strategy number 2. Follow-up strategy number 3. This is where I just want to be as helpful as I can with connecting and, again, engaging and bringing them into my community. So this is where we dig into handwritten cards, thoughtful gifts, leave behinds, and I'm going to connect with them in a number of different avenues. So we've talked about this also in a couple of, it was a couple podcasts ago. We talked about how people take in information, and they do it through hearing and seeing and experiencing. So the more I can have something that they can touch and engage with, or something that visually stimulates them. So I'm going to make sure that my follow-up methods, I engage with them via text whenever possible, also through snail mail, thoughtful gifts, mailing them cards, all of that. And Brenda's going to walk us through how to do that, so I don't want to steal her thunder on that. And then also, I'm going to send emails, and I'm going to engage on social media on whatever platform they are the most active in. So those are just a few of the strategies that I use in order to, or the strategies. Now, the actual how to do it and the content, I want to make sure that it does a couple of different things. And before I dive into this, this is actually something that Chris is an expert on. Chris, do you want to chat about this slide for just a second? Because you bring a different take to it than I do.
So yeah, sure. And that's the thing is that as Brendan pointed out earlier, is people are walking around the world thinking about one person, and it's not you. And so what I like to do is I'm a big fan of the first, right? So you attract, you excuse me, you give information, you help them solve a problem. You one of our first big discussions this year was that human beings have a tendency to, when a pandemic hits, buy all the toilet paper, right? And so they need people that are subject matter experts to be the voice of reason. And so, and that's one way that you attract is you tell people, here's how to solve your problems. Calm down. These are, don't do this, do this. These are some resources for you, right? So that's,
you are not alone.
Right, exactly. And then, another way that also it helps convert, because it builds credibility, and they trust in you as being the right solution. So, and then finally, with that process, it leads to building confidence in their decision to work with you, right? So, what I like to think of it is Brendan and I both have this servant mentality, right? And what is it that you say at the end of every podcast with pictures, Brendan?
You can get anything you want in the world as long as you help enough other people get what they want.
Right. So that's, by that token, then we build confidence with people. We give them small answers to small problems, and so they feel comfortable in calling us for the big answers for big problems.
Excellent. So if you think about your follow-up process, what you need to have as a visual in your head is this gigantic funnel. And what Chris talks about, the top of funnel is the attract. So this is where you have broad conversations, And then what you're going to do is, as you convert, it's where you're building credibility and trust. This is where they need to actually start interacting or engaging with your content. So this is an example of what this webinar series does. It's all designed for the convert stage of our follow-up funnel. This is where you figure out if you align with us, and we have the opportunity to see if we're going to like having you in one of our rooms, whether it's virtual or live. So it's an opportunity for us to try each other out, but it's that convert. You also are going to be able to test, hey, does this solution work for me? Because I'm sure somewhere our process won't work. I haven't really seen it yet, but I'm sure somebody out there is going to be able to come up one day with a business that isn't based on relationship building and identifying how to serve needs and be the right solution and be as helpful as possible. I'm sure somewhere out there, there's probably a business that that's not relevant for, but if it is, we really don't want them as clients. And it allows us to do as much to funnel the wrong people out as the right people in. And the middle of funnel content, you want to make sure that it does that. And then as you move into those final stages, you have to really think about those mental triggers that are going to really help people make decisions. And the mental triggers, remember, we've got that scarcity trigger and we've got that commitment trigger. Those are all things that people need to recognize, these steps that they can take with you, so that even if they're baby steps, they're still moving along the path of the buyer journey. So that's what I want you to be thinking about your content. Now, a lot of people do a great job in their follow-up with sharing all the technical stuff. So everybody focuses on those first triggers that are the authority, and maybe they do a little bit of the social proof, but they neglect all the rest of them. And I encourage you to really be thinking about what the other steps would look like as you're going through this. All right, now we've got the big question. Who can help us get all of this done? Because what I've told you, you're probably sitting here thinking, oh boy, there's a lot of work to do here. And there is. And that's one of the reasons why I got to tell you, I am not a fan of working hard. I'm a big fan of working smart and making sure that what I am doing is going to yield the absolute best result. So I'm always looking for the hacks or the shortcuts to a process. And I actually have a really cool one today, and I'm delighted to actually introduce you to Brenda. And let me turn it over, because I want you to see how she does her process, because it is pretty doggone cool. So I'm going to turn webcams back on as we talk through this. And then Brenda, I know we're going to need to see your screen. Are you ready for me to turn it over to you?
Sure. So are you going to, do you want me to just share for a little bit, or if you're turning it to my screen?
I'm making you presenter. So now you can pull it to your screen, because what I would love for you to do is show some of the different tools that you have available that can walk a salesperson or professional through how to do this for their business. I guess you don't need to see my webcam now. There we go.
Cool. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
I've got it up on mine. Let's do a real quick check. Kathy, can you see Brenda's screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. So Brenda, I love being part of this session this morning. And I've already taken a page and a half of notes. So I was just like taking it all in. And I just love the repetition of being on your sessions. It's not repeating the same thing. It's the repetition of each week we take and look at it from a different angle. And the more you hear it, the more it settles in. So I appreciate that. So and thank you for having me again this morning and with this follow-up system. And I like it that you really like that you talked about the different ways of follow-up, because we have to use all of them. Send out cards, who I represent, is just one of the methods. It is not the method. I mean, like all of you who are listening in, I use automated emails. I don't necessarily do direct mail, but clearly social media, phone calls, all the tools. And this additional tool that I want to share with you this morning is in the space of the tangible touch of that handwritten thank you card or follow-up card, that it's in the space of greeting cards and gifts. And with send out cards, it's a tool. It's a tool in a system that allows you to put your own content, your own message, and deliver it to your prospect, deliver it to your client in a different media. So instead of putting it in the email or the text, you're putting your message, your content in a card. And what makes it really stand out is very few people receive snail mail anymore. And when with what I'm going to show you, we can create cards that are very personal to what Chris said. Who are we all thinking of? Not you. You know, we're all thinking of ourselves. And so with that in mind, the content that we put in the cards should speak to what they're thinking of, and that's their problem, their situation. So this is a solution for relationship builders, and it's also a great solution for procrastinators. And it's a really great solution for people who want to be more kindness givers and gratitude givers, that they just find that, you know, they're up to here on their to-do list and they have a shortage of time. And so this is a system and a tool that can really help you with one more follow-up method along that 8 to 22, 8 to 25 touches. So Brendan, do you want me to pause and ask some questions, or do you want me to just keep going and showing?
Well, what I would love for you to do, I think this would be great. And I'm actually going to share a couple of examples real quick, because I've got several clients who are using this system, and Brenda has been a phenomenal resource for them. And here's the thing. So I love using apps and different technologies because they save time. So understand, there is nothing, I have no dog in this hunt as far as introducing you to Brenda. I am not an affiliate. I'm not being compensated in any way, shape, or form, with the exception of, you know, that reciprocity thing where I solve a compelling problem for you. That's what this is all about. And the challenge with doing an effective follow-up, we know that thoughtful approaches and demonstrations of kindness are going to yield tenfold the investment of effort, you know, your return on effort, as a traditional marketing touch. And you can either do this by going, and what I used to do, hang out at the card aisle or be Hallmark's best customer. But, you know, I ran out of time, and finding something and making, and then going and handwriting it, and the stamps and the mailing and all that other stuff, it just gets complicated. And then, so everything that gets complicated doesn't get done. So as I'm talking to you about Brenda and I'm showing you this process, if you don't do send out cards, or you don't use an app, or you don't use a service, do something. That's the biggest thing that I want you to take out of what she's going to walk through, because the process is it's golden. And I have clients that, you know, she talked about not sending out a bunch of direct mail cards. I've got one client that uses this system to send out direct mail cards. They're in the travel business, and it's a highly visual experience. And they send out greeting cards that are based on trips that are so good, it almost makes you see people, you know, you can almost see yourself at that particular destination. So there are a lot of different ways you can do this, and I want you thinking about how to broaden the sensory experience of your follow-up is what this is all about. So then with that, Brenda, can you show us how your system does that?
Yes. So what I would like to do, there's two things that I want to focus on in the quick time that we have left. And one is that I'm going to send a card. I'm going to send a card to Chris this morning. So I want to show everybody how simple it is to send one card. You're thinking of one person and you send them one card. And then I want to go in and I'll probably show it in my system what I've done of creating a pre-made series of cards that I built ahead of time, and that can be sent to a prospect or a client when said situation occurs, and how simple it is then to put multiple touches into play with just the touch of a button. So that's what I'm thinking. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to send Chris a card. So this is looking at my screen, my account. Anybody that has a send out cards subscription would be looking at the same thing, and it is a subscription service. It's month to month. There are no contracts. So I'm going to send you a thank you card, Chris, because you have made me look good this morning with some of the things that you've done. So I came into the thank you category. So Brendan, you mentioned Hallmark, and I have many friends who work at Hallmark, have had wonderful careers there. Send out cards is really like having a Hallmark store on your laptop or on your phone where you can access it at any time. So I'm scrolling down here. I'm going to find the perfect card that I'm going to send to Chris. And this is the one that I want to do. And it says, you exceed expectations. Well, we'll get it bigger in just a moment. And so this is called a photo drop card, which means there's some pre-design, but I can drop a photo in here. I went out ahead of time, and Chris, I went to your Facebook page.
Oh, Lord.
And I know you don't know what I'm going to show, do you?
That's all right.
So I'm going to just do customize. And then with the send out cards, I have the choice of, I can send Chris this card as a postcard, as a 5x7 flat card, which is just front and back inserted into an envelope. I can send you a 2-panel card, which is what we think of as a traditional card. I can send it as a 3-panel, which is a trifold. So if I have more content that I want to send, I would choose that. And I can even select this as a big 8x10 for a special occasion, but I'm going to keep it really simple on the 2-panel card. I'm going to put it on our standard beautiful gloss paper. So I'm going to hit next. And now it's crafting the start of that card. So here's the card, and I am going to, instead of that stock photo in there, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put in a picture. Now, if I would have just met with a prospect or a client at their office or on the golf course, you know, at a ball game, whatever, and I took a picture of us together, I could easily just pop that picture in here. Chris and I haven't seen each other in person in a long time. So I went out to the Facebook page and I found this cool picture. And can you see my toolbar is on the right, but can you see the picture? Oh, how am I going to be able to? Okay, hold on. I've got a minute.
I can see it. It's there.
Okay, I've got to get back to my screen. Get back here. I've got to get rid of the navigation on the right. How do I minimize the navigation?
Well, there's 3 buttons.
I drag it. Okay, I drag it. Okay, bear with me. Okay, got it. Okay, so that's the front of the card. Now I'm going to go to the inside of the card, and I can, doggone, hold on. I'm just clicking to get to different screens. Okay, now at the top of the card, I could put pictures if I wanted to put more pictures. I'm going to just keep it to that one. That's amazing. I could type some copy in here if I wanted to. I think that I will keep that really easy for right now. And I apologize for, maybe you can't see what I'm seeing on my side, but I'm spending a lot of time bouncing around here. Bear with me. Okay, so I'm just going to pop in a real quick color here on the background, and then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to type in my message. If I was doing this from my phone, I would just voice text it in to save me time. Okay, so I just typed a short message, and I'm going to come in, and I've got like 25 different fonts that I could pick from. I have even had my own personal handwriting digitized, so I'm going to pick that one. And then I could come in and change the color of the font and the size if I wanted to. I could come in and I could mail merge. If I was going to send this card to a group of people, I could mail merge in the first name. My favorite part, which was really important to me when I first found this tool, was that I could have my signatures digitized. And so I can just drop my own handwriting right in there. So I just kept it really simple. Hi, Chris, thanks for making me look good on this morning's webinar. You rock. I'm going to go to the back of the card, and I have pre-built some different layouts with my branding on the back. So the default, I could pick a different one if I wanted to. So when I go back, well, we'll look at it in a minute. So I'm going to go, then I'm going to save and send this card. So it's going to create the order. Okay, now we're on the order page. And so I can see there's the front of the card and there's the inside. And if I go, yeah, that looks really good to me. It tells me that it's a 2-panel card. It's on standard paper. I can send it immediately, or I could schedule it to send at a future date to arrive on their birthday, their anniversary, or just schedule it for the future. That's very cool. Talk about a time saver. So I'm going to keep it at immediate. If I wanted to add a gift right here, I would just click on add a gift. I'm now looking at the gift store with hundreds of items in lots of different categories. I could add a gift card or a tangible touch gift. And for the sake of just right now, I am not going to do that. Yeah. Sorry, Chris.
Dang it.
Actually, I get brownies, Chris.
Why would I? So why I'm sitting here thinking, why would I not do that? I am going to send you a gift. Oh, so I'm going to send you a 2-pack of brownies, which is our most popular item.
And they are so good.
And then I'm going to come down. So you can see my return address is already built into the system. And I'm going to click add recipients. Well, I've already uploaded from an Excel spreadsheet all of my contacts into my system. So now all I have to do is type in Chris's name. And Chris, I hope I found your address correctly.
Yep, that's it. I was just typing it into the chat, but you got it.
Okay, cool. So then I'm going to go, yep, that's where I want to send it. I click the box by his name. I come down here and I click done. And it says it's saving all of that. And now it says it's ready to send. So I come over here, I see the checkout screen. My card we're lined out, so the card is free. And I'm going to send you the brownies. That 2-pack of brownies is $3.98. I think when you get them, the perception when you get them is going to be much, much greater than $3.98. And then so my shipping. And so the total is $7.87. I hit send, and congratulations, I just made the world a better place. Right. That card and those brownies are going to go out, be printed, stuffed, stamped, sealed, and mailed the next business day, because this is Friday. That's going to go in the mail on Monday, Chris. You should receive that next Thursday or Friday at your
That's awesome.
That address.
Isn't
that awesome?
It is.
Can you see can you see right now? Can you see? This is what the brownies are going to look like.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
There's 2 of us. So you don't necessarily have to share with anybody if you get the mail before anybody else.
Yeah. Don't let Max see them.
I'm going to come in and chocolate all over my face. Was there any mail, Dad?
No
Now,
mail.
I want to show you one other thing very quickly. So that I just sent a card to, obviously, to Chris. I was thinking of Chris. That was uniquely for Chris. But to streamline, I'm going to come over here into my campaigns, and campaigns is an area where we can create a multi-touch series of cards, or I can create, we can create cards that we can pre-make them and then quickly pull them if we want to send it over and over again when a situation occurs. So I'm going to show you, I have a lot of them I could show, and I thought what would be best is just to show something of my own, because then I can freely talk about it. So I have created for my business with send out cards when I get a new customer. I want to drip on them multiple times because it's a subscription service and they have the freedom every month to continue it or stop. So for me, it's really important to stay in touch with them until they get really agile with the service. So I've created a 6 touches with a new customer. And so this first one is immediate. So when I get a new customer, I just attach their name like I did Chris's name to that card. And I just attach your name to this whole campaign, and literally in 2 minutes, it's gone. So I'm sending a card that goes out immediately. Then I created another one with a very small gift that goes out in 3 days. Another one that goes out in 9 days, another one in 2 weeks, then this one is 6 months. And then I have built in an anniversary card with a 2-pack of brownies. And all of these are pre-built with my well thought out content and some images, and the gifts are attached. And so when I get a new customer, I don't have to scratch my head and go, oh my gosh, I need to go shopping or send somebody out to go get a gift card and things for me. No, I come in, I open up my system and I open up this campaign, I add my new customer's address to it, and I hit send. And then I get billed as those things are sent out during the course of the year. And on the cool side, on the recipient side, they think I'm a rock star and that I'm thinking of them each and every time it goes out. And of course I am, but I didn't have to individually go in and touch and create every one of those cards. It wouldn't happen if I had to do them individually.
Right.
Especially if you think about how many people you could be onboarding and how often. And the reason why I love this system so much and why I refer you as often as I do and why I invited you today is because I recognize how hard it is to remember all of these very, very, very important things. I mean, onboarding a client and continuing to nurture them is the most important task a business development professional can do. It, without, hands down, this is it. Because if we don't take care of our existing amazing clients, how on earth can we expect them to refer us? And this is so cool because it engages them. I know you could do the exact same thing with creating a system that would follow up. If you've got a 12-month sales cycle with a prospect, I mean, how easy would it be to create something that, and it's funny because Brenda, you actually have put together, and I've got to follow up with the person that I referred you to before, that was that breeder. They breed horses just like we do in Kentucky. And Brenda put together the most beautiful card that was it was a picture of her baby, one of her baby horses off the website. And it was just, talk about a wow experience. And that's the thing that you just want to think about as you're delivering this content. This addresses probably 2 or 3 of the different mental triggers. There it is. Isn't that beautiful?
Right.
And she went to her website and pulled that picture, and it was off Facebook. And then, you know, that's who she's introducing to the system. And how easy was it for me to refer her? Instead of saying, this is so cool, it's you know, let me show you something that's pretty amazing and extraordinary that you should be doing. for all of your clients. And if you think about it, you just think about this entire buyer journey that they go through. And the buyer journey that a buyer goes through when they're buying a baby horse is normally in the very beginning, you pick the daddy and the mama, and then you've got a 12-month wait. And in that 12 months, you don't get paid until that baby gets here. And you could back out and lose your deposit, but your deposit isn't normally that big. So you could create a strategy with something like this, that you sent them other baby pictures via cards throughout the 12 months, so that in 12 months they were still committed and they were even more excited than they were on day one. So, I mean, those are just a few examples of some of the different things you can do. I do want to make sure that we get things wrapped up. And the reason I shared this example with you today and why I invited Brenda to attend is I wanted you to be able to look at, I'm going to go ahead, if it's okay, Brenda, and take the screen back. At least
Yeah.
I think I can do that. Maybe I can do that.
Do I need to do something?
Can tell me, can y'all see my screen?
Not yet.
There we are. Can you see me now?
I can. I sent it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate you doing that, because you know me in technology, we are not like that. All right. So Brenda was gracious enough. She has a book for us today that is The Power of the Human Connection. So make sure that you chat us your mailing address. This is another one of the steps that she takes in her buyer journey to engage with a prospect, as well as you have the opportunity to experience it. And again, another example of how mental triggers work, that one addresses your reciprocity. It gets you engaged with it, so you actually see how it works, so you have that authority. And then, of course, you're always leading in with that social proof. So with that being said, we're going to wrap things up today because we've covered so much ground and I'm running over on time. So I want to first of all invite you to attend. One of our sponsors of this series is the Women's Business Center. And they currently have an entrepreneurship series that is going on that is helping businesses navigate the pivot in all areas of their business. And this one is, you don't want to miss it. Make sure that you jump in on some of the different sessions that they have in the series. It's everything from worker health and safety to HR to bookkeeping. If any of you have participated in any of the stimulus programs, they talk about compliance and reporting. There's just some really good stuff here. So go hop in on those. And then I also want to make you all aware of something that Chris and I are developing for business owners right now, that we can help you navigate through the pandemic as far as thinking about how to diversify. If you are one of those businesses that got stuck because of the shelter in place order, you were shut down, you couldn't do business, or your prospects just stopped moving, what we can help you do is create offers and products based on your knowledge or your process of how you serve people, so that it creates additional income for you, because we all need to be a little bit better about that in our business right now. So I encourage you, if this is something that you've recognized you need, then join our waiting list. And the information is here on the screen. You can also go to our website, salesworks.com, and there's all kinds of great information there as well. So I want to wrap things up with just a really quick and big thank you to Brenda Perkins for talking with us about her system, and also giving you some ideas of how you can create systems and automate some of this follow-up process. And I just want to encourage you to be a bit more thoughtful in all avenues of your follow-up, and think about how you can add value and make that process and buyer journey something that your prospect engages and enjoys and benefits from. So with that, Chris, is there anything else we need to cover before we wrap up?
No, I'm dumbfounded at how remarkable the system is. It goes so far beyond what I considered it could do. And if you're not taking advantage of this, I strongly suggest you call or email Brenda and set up an appointment with her. Her contact information is right here. You'll get this PowerPoint presentation, and I can already see 50 different ways this is usable in the buyer journey. So thank you so
Isn't
much,
it
Brenda.
awesome?
And you
So-
look good on that card too.
Thank you.
Doesn't he? He does. It's not everybody can have a partner in their endeavors who's a rock star, and I'm just blessed to have him. So go check him out on YouTube, by the way, if you haven't done that,
Oh,
because oh my goodness, he's talented on so many different levels.
It's great.
All right. Thank you all for your participation today, and I'm excited to see you. Make sure you join us again next week for our next episode of Business Unusual. We are going to be diving more into this follow-up and follow-through process. Next week, we're going to be talking about leave-behinds, pop-ins, drop-bys, all of those things that you need to do to stay top of mind with recurring clients, that a lot of it's changing right now because of COVID. And we're going to give you some ideas about how to navigate through that. So thanks again, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Remember, to get what you want, you have got to help others get what they want. Have a great day, and I wish you all good selling.